The dull hum of machinery filled the air inside Tranquility Base's main control room, a stark contrast to the silent vacuum just beyond its walls. Commander Jack Harper leaned forward, scrutinizing the data on the monitor before him. Beside him, Dr. Alan Yue, the base's chief scientist, adjusted the signal receiver, his brows furrowed in concentration. "Any change, Alan?" Jack asked, his voice steady. "Nothing yet," Alan replied, tapping at his keyboard. "The signal's pattern doesn't match anything we've seen before. It's definitely not cosmic background noise." Jack's eyes narrowed. "Could it be a satellite, maybe some kind of classified tech not on the books?" Alan shook his head. "It's coming from outside the solar system. Whatever it is, it's not human." Before Jack could respond, the static on the main communication channel cleared abruptly, replaced by a crisp, articulate voice, distinctly non-human in its cadence. "Attention, inhabitants of Earth. I am Commander Saran of the Kavar fleet. You are occupying resources deemed essential to the Kavar Dominion. Surrender your planet and its resources within one rotation, or face obliteration." The room fell silent, the weight of the message sinking in. Jack's jaw tightened. He glanced around at his team, seeing his own alarm mirrored in their faces. "Patch me through to the UN Security Council," Jack said, his decision immediate. "We need to respond to this." As Alan made the connection, Jack turned to Lieutenant Maya Chen, his communications officer. "Maya, keep trying to open a channel to these Kavar. We need more information." "Yes, sir," Maya acknowledged, her fingers flying over the controls. The screen flickered, and the solemn faces of the UN Security Council appeared. Jack stood, straightening his uniform. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jack began, "approximately 10 minutes ago, we received a communication from an alien entity identifying itself as part of the Kavar Dominion. They've given us 24 hours to surrender Earth." The Secretary General, a serious man with deep lines etched across his brow, responded, "Commander Harper, is there any possibility this is a hoax? Some kind of elaborate prank or miscommunication?" Jack shook his head. "The signal's origin is extraterrestrial, beyond our solar system. This is no hoax. We're preparing to send back a communication, but we need to consider our stance carefully." A British delegate interjected, "We mustn't appear weak. However, provoking a potentially superior force could be catastrophic." Jack nodded. "Agreed, but showing that we're ready to defend ourselves might be our best deterrent. If they're capable of reaching us, they might be capable of much more." "Commander Harper," the Russian delegate said, his tone grave, "prepare your response, but avoid any aggressive moves until we understand more. The Council will convene an emergency session immediately. Keep us informed." "Understood," Jack replied, cutting the transmission. Turning back to his team, Jack said, "Alan, Maya, let's draft our reply. We need to be firm, but not antagonistic. We should also prepare for the worst. I want contingency plans and any defensive measures we can muster." Alan nodded, his expression grim but determined. "I'll start pulling data on their signal, see if there's anything we can use. Maybe we can figure out how advanced they are. And I'll get our message ready," Maya added, her voice steady despite the rising tension. Jack watched them work, feeling a surge of pride. This was humanity's first test beyond Earth, a test they had not anticipated nor wanted, but they would face it together. As they worked into the hours of the early morning, Jack knew one thing for certain. They wouldn't give up Earth without a fight. The large, oval table of the United Nations Security Council chamber was unusually crowded, with representatives from every member state present, either in person or via secure video link. Tension hung palpably in the air as Jack Harper was ushered into the room, accompanied by General Robert Liu, the newly appointed commander of Earth's multinational defense force. As Jack and Robert took their seats, the Secretary General opened the emergency session. "Ladies and gentlemen, we face an unprecedented crisis. Commander Harper has received a direct threat from an extraterrestrial force known as the Kavar. Commander, please brief the Council on your recommended response." Jack stood, clearing his throat. "Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. My team and I have drafted a preliminary response to the Kavar's ultimatum. We propose to communicate our willingness to protect Earth while avoiding outright aggression. However, we must prepare for potential hostilities." A murmur ran through the chamber as he paused. The French delegate, Jean-Luc Girard, leaned forward. "Commander Harper, can we negotiate with these Kavar? Perhaps there's a peaceful resolution to be had." Jack nodded thoughtfully. "It's possible, Mr. Girard, but we must also prepare for the possibility that negotiation will fail. General Liu is coordinating our defensive preparations." Robert Liu spoke up, his voice firm. "We've begun enhancing our satellite defenses and are mobilizing forces globally. Additionally, we are considering strategies that involve both space and terrestrial defenses." The Russian delegate, Viktor Petrov, interjected. "And what of our nuclear arsenals? Are we considering that as an option?" Robert shook his head. "We believe that should be a last resort. Our goal is to prevent conflict, not escalate it to catastrophic levels." The Chinese delegate, Minister Chen, raised a hand. "What support can we expect from our international partners? This is a global threat, not one that any single nation can face alone." Jack replied, "We need a unified front, both in military coordination and in sharing technology and intelligence. Unity is our greatest asset." The British delegate, Sir Edward Mallory, adjusted his glasses. "Unity is well and good, but we need specifics. What are the immediate steps?" Robert answered, "We propose a joint task force to handle communications with the Kavar, while simultaneously preparing our defenses. This task force will need to operate out of a secure location with the best tech our countries can provide." The Secretary General nodded. "We will need to set up a vote on the formation of this task force. Time is of the essence." As the delegates prepared for the vote, Jack and Robert stepped aside for a brief moment. "Jack, how do you really feel about our chances?" Robert asked quietly, away from the microphones. Jack looked at him squarely. "Honestly, Robert, it's not good. But I've seen what we can do when we work together. We're not just going to roll over." Robert clapped him on the shoulder. "That's what I wanted to hear. Let's get back in there." The session resumed, and after heated discussions, a resolution was passed with overwhelming support to form an International Defense Task Force, IDTF, under the leadership of Jack and Robert. The meeting adjourned with plans for immediate action, the weight of the future pressing down on everyone present. As the chamber emptied, Jack felt a heavy sense of responsibility settle on his shoulders. They had been granted a brief reprieve by the Council's decision, but the real work was just beginning. As he left the building, the setting sun cast long shadows over the city, mirroring the uncertainty that lay ahead. In the dimly lit operations room of the newly established International Defense Command Center, a bank of screens lit up with real-time satellite imagery. Jack Harper, alongside General Robert Liu and Admiral Marcus Bennett, stared intently at the unfolding situation. "Contact established, 3:47 hours. They didn't waste any time," Marcus muttered, adjusting the focus on one of the screens. "Looks like they're targeting major metropolitan areas first." Jack leaned in, analyzing the trajectory of the incoming Kavar crafts. "Deploy countermeasures for New York, Beijing, and Moscow first. They're hitting us where it hurts." Robert was already coordinating with ground forces. "I have air defense units on standby. Engaging in 5, 4, 3, 2. The room vibrated with the low rumble of distant impacts, the sounds of Earth's first active defense against an alien attack. On the screens, blips marked the success and failure of their efforts. "Direct hit over Beijing. The defense drones intercepted successfully," one of the technicians shouted. But not all news was good. "Moscow's shield was penetrated, General. Casualties are being reported," another operator called out. Robert grimaced. "Keep pushing. Deploy additional drones and alert all bases to switch to high alert protocol." Jack turned to Marcus. "Admiral, I want every available ship ready to launch a counteroffensive. We can't let them think we're easy targets." Marcus nodded sharply, issuing rapid commands into his communicator. The response was a coordinated flurry of activity across the globe, as every resource was pushed to its limit. Meanwhile, Jack opened a secure line to the world leaders. "This is Commander Harper. We are engaging the enemy but expect significant civilian and infrastructural losses. I recommend initiating emergency evacuation protocols in targeted cities." The British Prime Minister's voice crackled through the tension. "Acknowledged, Commander. We're moving people to underground shelters as we speak." As they managed the incoming data, a new signal came through. "Commander, you have a live communication request from the Kavar fleet. They're broadcasting on all channels," Maya Chen informed from her station. Jack straightened, his expression steely. "Put them through." The face that appeared on the screen was harsh, with sharp angles and cold eyes. "I am Soran of the Kavar. You defy the inevitable. Cease your resistance and surrender, or your cities will continue to burn." Jack's reply was calm and measured. "We will defend our home, Soran. Withdraw your forces now, and we can discuss terms peacefully." Soran's laugh was a chilling sound. "There will be no peace, only surrender." The screen went blank as the transmission cut off. Jack turned back to his team, his resolve hardening. "You heard them. Prepare for extended engagement. This is going to be a long fight." Marcus rallied his staff. "All ships, prepare to engage at maximum range. We're not just defending Earth, we're taking the fight to them." As they coordinated their defense, Jack felt the heavy burden of command. Each decision he made could save or cost thousands of lives. But amid the chaos, there was a sense of unity and purpose. The Earth, for all its squabbles and conflicts, was fighting as one. Robert checked the latest satellite data, pointing out a potential weak spot in the Kavar formation. "Jack, look here. We might have an opportunity to break their line." "Coordinate with Admiral Bennett. Let's exploit every weakness," Jack ordered, already moving to the next screen to plan their counterattack. The chapter would close with the world holding its breath, the first day of humanity's fight for survival drawing to a close. Lights blazed in the command center as the night deepened, a symbol of Earth's unwillingness to go quietly into the dark. Inside the bustling hub of the International Defense Command Center, the air was thick with the tension of ongoing battle reports and strategy discussions. General Robert Liu strode purposefully towards the central planning table, where Jack Harper and Admiral Marcus Bennett were poring over the latest satellite imagery. "Any word from the engineering teams about the new missile systems?" Robert asked, glancing at the screens showing troop movements and logistics. Jack looked up, a hint of optimism in his eyes. "Yes, they've made significant progress overnight. Maria Gonzalez's team believes they'll have the first batch ready within hours." Marcus chimed in, his voice carrying across the room. "We need those missiles yesterday, Jack. The Kavar aren't letting up, and our current arsenal isn't cutting it." Jack nodded, his focus shifting to the phone in his hand. "Let's get Maria on the line. She needs to brief us on the specs and deployment capabilities." He dialed quickly, the phone ringing only once before Maria's voice came through, tense but clear. "Maria, it's Jack. We're all here. Update us on the missile systems." "Commander, we've enhanced the propulsion units to handle the extra weight of the warheads we've developed. They're designed to penetrate the Kavar shields more effectively. We're starting assembly now," Maria reported. Robert leaned in, his gaze sharp. "What's the ETA for deployment?" "We're pushing for deployment in the next 24 hours, General. Safety checks are underway, and then we'll move directly to distribution," Maria answered. "Excellent work, Maria. Keep it up and keep us posted," Jack said, ending the call. Turning back to his team, Jack's voice was firm. "We need to use this time to mobilize more than just weapons. It's about rallying our people, our nations. We're not just fighting for territory, we're fighting for our survival." Marcus nodded, turning to his aide. "Send out the call. I want every available pilot and ship ready for a briefing in 1 hour. We'll go over the new combat protocols." As Marcus organized the naval forces, Robert focused on ground operations. "I'll coordinate with the armies worldwide. We need to establish a unified combat training protocol using the new weapons. The more cohesive our forces, the better our chances." The conversation was interrupted by an incoming alert. A young officer approached, handing Jack a tablet with the latest intelligence report. "Sir, we have potential Kavar troop movements here and here," he pointed out, showing satellite images of 2 locations on Earth's surface where unusual activity was detected. Jack studied the images, his mind racing. "Looks like they might be setting up for another strike. Let's use this intel to test the new missiles once they're operational. Set up a defense perimeter around these areas." Marcus agreed. "It'll give us a real-time test under combat conditions, risky but necessary." The men worked seamlessly together, their actions a testament to the urgent necessity of their cause. As they prepared for the next phase of the war, the center buzzed with activity. Technicians, soldiers, and strategists moved with purpose, driven by the knowledge that their efforts were crucial to the defense of their planet. As the chapter closed, the camera would pull back from the intense focus on the command center to show the broader scale of preparations happening globally. Troops mobilized, civilians volunteered in war efforts, and governments worked overtime to support the logistical needs of the war. Earth, in its darkest hour, was united by the common goal of survival against an alien threat. Each action and decision woven into the fabric of an all-encompassing battle for the future. In the cold vacuum of space near Mars, the human fleet awaited the impending battle. Admiral Marcus Bennett's flagship served as the command center, where he, along with Jack Harper and General Robert Lew, coordinated the attack. "Are all squadrons accounted for?" Marcus asked, his voice echoing slightly in the command deck. "Yes, Admiral. All units are in position and ready to engage on your command," replied Captain Anders, his eyes locked on the tactical display. Jack leaned over the console, examining the enemy's formation. "The Kavar seem to be using a standard phalanx. We can use the asteroids near Mars for cover and flank them from the sides." Robert nodded in agreement. "Let's maximize the use of Maria's new missiles in this maneuver. If they perform as tested, we should be able to break through their defenses." Marcus gave the order. "All right, initiate Attack Plan Delta. Use the asteroids as cover and launch the missiles on my mark." As the fleet maneuvered into position, the tension was palpable. The crew members adjusted their stations, preparing for the combat ahead. Jack kept his eyes on the screen, watching as their ships stealthily moved into the asteroid field. "Timing will be critical here. We need to hit them hard and fast before they can regroup." The moment arrived and Marcus gave the signal. "Fire!" Missiles streaked across space, their trails bright against the dark backdrop. The initial explosions on the Kavar shields were visible even from a distance. "Direct hits on the targets. Shields are weakening," shouted Lieutenant Graham from the sensor station. Encouraged by their success, Robert coordinated the next phase. "Send in the fighter squadrons. Target any breaches in the enemy shields. Let's keep them off balance." The fighters swooped in, darting through space with agility. The battle intensified as both sides exchanged fire. Jack monitored the progress, adjusting strategies as needed. "Admiral, the Kavar are regrouping. Recommend we push our advantage," Jack suggested, noting the shift in the enemy's formation. Marcus responded immediately. "Agreed. All units, increase offensive. Push them back towards Mars." As the battle raged, the human forces slowly gained the upper hand. The Kavar, unaccustomed to the tenacious fighting spirit of their opponents, began to falter. Robert watched the battle unfold with a mix of anxiety and hope. "We might just pull this off. Maria's missiles are performing beyond expectations." Marcus, ever the strategist, kept his focus. "Let's not celebrate yet. Increase pressure and prepare for their counter-moves. This isn't over." The chapter climaxed with a daring maneuver by the human forces, exploiting a critical weakness in the Kavar formation. With precise and coordinated attacks, they managed to scatter the enemy fleet, causing significant damage. As the debris of enemy ships floated through space, the human commanders reviewed the battle's outcome. They had won a significant victory, but the war was far from over. Jack, Marcus, and Robert convened to discuss the next steps. "This victory will give us some breathing room, but we need to stay vigilant. They'll be back, and in greater numbers," Jack stated, his mind already on the future. Robert added, "We'll use this time to strengthen our defenses and refine our tactics. Today we've shown that we can not only defend, but also challenge them." As they prepared to leave the command deck, Marcus summed up the day's success. "Well done, everyone. Let's keep the pressure on and turn this war in our favor. Earth is counting on us." The chapter ended with the fleet regrouping and preparing for the next phase of the war, buoyed by their recent success but aware of the long struggle ahead. The bustling atmosphere of the Global Defense Headquarters was a hive of activity, with every available space utilized for war efforts. Jack Harper walked briskly through the corridors, heading towards a crucial meeting with General Robert Lew and a panel of international engineers, including Dr. Alan Yue and Maria Gonzalez. Their focus: further advancements in Earth's war technology. As Jack entered the conference room, he was greeted by Robert and Alan, who were already engaged in a heated discussion about the deployment of automated defense systems around key cities. "Jack, good you're here," Robert said, gesturing towards a set of blueprints on the table. "We're pushing for the next phase in our defensive infrastructure. Alan thinks we can have automated drones in place within 2 weeks." Alan nodded, adjusting his glasses. "These aren't just any drones. They're equipped with AI capable of predictive engagement strategies. It's going to change the way we defend our skies." Jack considered the proposal, his mind racing through logistics and potential outcomes. "And the production? How quickly can we scale this?" Maria, joining the group, chimed in. "Production is ready to ramp up. With the new automated factories we set up last week, we can double our output. I've also made some tweaks to the drone designs to speed up assembly." Jack looked around the table, his expression one of approval. "Let's do it. Robert, coordinate with the defense ministers to get these drones deployed as soon as they're off the line. Alan, Maria, keep pushing the envelope on tech. We need every advantage we can get." The group dispersed to set their plans in motion, and Jack headed to another part of the headquarters, where Admiral Marcus Bennett was overseeing a virtual training simulation with pilots from around the world. Entering the simulation room, Jack found Marcus engrossed in a discussion with a group of pilots. "We've analyzed the last engagement and adjusted our tactics. You'll be going up against faster, more aggressive scenarios today," Marcus explained, pointing to the data displayed on the large screen. A young pilot raised a hand. "Admiral, how are these simulations stacking up against the real Kavar tactics?" Marcus gave a brief smile. "We're as close as we can be based on our last encounters. Remember, adaptability is key. What works today may not work tomorrow." Jack watched as the pilots suited up and entered their simulation pods. He turned to Marcus. "How's morale?" "Better than you'd expect," Marcus replied. "Victories help, but it's the constant innovation and feeling that everyone's pulling their weight that keeps spirits high." The conversation was cut short by an urgent message from the communications department. Jack and Marcus listened intently as the operator relayed the information. "Sir, we've intercepted a Kavar communication. It seems they're planning a major offensive sooner than anticipated," the operator reported. Jack and Marcus exchanged a glance. "Looks like our window to prepare is closing faster than we thought," Jack said. "Let's gather the command team. We need to accelerate our plans." Back in the strategy room, Jack, Marcus, Robert, and other top military officials convened for an emergency session. The room buzzed with urgency as they updated their defensive strategies in light of the new intelligence. "We need to shore up our positions on all fronts," Jack directed. "Increase patrols and keep the drone factories running 24/7. We can't let them catch us off guard." Robert added, "I'll get the ground forces on high alert and double-check all defensive installations. We can't afford any weak spots." As the meeting adjourned, the leaders dispersed with a clear sense of purpose. Jack remained behind, looking over the globe dotted with lights representing their forces. The chapter closed with Jack reflecting on the enormity of their task. Earth's industries, military, and people were united as never before, transformed into a single, focused entity of defense and aggression. The stakes were monumental, but so was the determination to protect their home. Admiral Marcus Bennett stood beside Jack Harper in the command center of the lead battleship, both men surveying the star map that displayed the looming presence of the Kavar homeworld. General Robert Liu was coordinating the final checks on their armament systems, his voice steady over the comlink. "Admiral, all fleets report ready status. Weapons are fully operational, and all personnel are at battle stations," Robert confirmed, his focus evident even through the static of the communication. Marcus nodded, turning to Jack. "This is it, the heart of their empire. We take this down, and it's over." Jack's gaze was fixed on the screen. "Let's make sure it's a knockout then." Marcus commenced the attack sequence. Marcus issued the command with a grim determination. "All units, this is Admiral Bennett. Engage at will. Priority targets are their defense satellites and space docks. We cripple their fleet here." The space around the Kavar homeworld erupted into chaos as hundreds of human ships advanced, unleashing a barrage of fire that lit up the void. Explosions dotted the blackness as Kavar defensive structures responded with their own heavy artillery. Jack monitored the progress closely, adjusting tactics with each new development. Robert pushed the left flank harder. They're weaker there. We need to break their line. Roger that, Jack. I'm sending in additional squadrons now, Robert replied, orchestrating the maneuver with precision. As the battle intensified, a sudden surge of enemy fighters swarmed from the planet's surface, their numbers far greater than intelligence had predicted. Marcus reacted swiftly, directing the fleet's fighters to intercept. Engage those fighters. Don't let them through. Marcus barked orders, his eyes tracking the skirmishes playing out in real time. Amidst the turmoil, a critical alert came through. Admiral, we've got a breach in Sector 4G. A Kavar destroyer broke through. It's heading straight for the Artemis. Jack assessed the situation rapidly. Redirect the nearest units to intercept. Marcus, prepare the Artemis for evasive maneuvers. Even as they managed the immediate threats, the overall tide of the battle seemed to turn in their favor. Human ingenuity and determination were making a difference, slowly overpowering the Kavar defenses. Suddenly, an opportunity emerged. Jack, their central command ship is exposed. Most of their fleet is engaged on the front lines, one of the tacticians reported. Seizing the chance, Jack formulated a risky plan. Marcus, Robert, I'm going in with a strike team. We take out their command, and this war ends today. Robert's voice crackled through, filled with concern yet resolute. We've got your back. Be careful, Jack. With a small team of elite soldiers, Jack boarded a fast attack shuttle, darting through the debris and chaos toward the Kavar command ship. As they approached, the reality of the mission weighed heavily on him, each moment fraught with danger. Inside the enemy ship, Jack and his team faced fierce resistance. Blaster fire filled the corridors as they fought their way to the central control room. Each step forward was hard-fought, the outcome uncertain. Back on the lead battleship, Marcus and Robert watched anxiously, coordinating support to keep enemy reinforcements at bay. Keep those fighters off Jack's back, Marcus ordered, directing a nearby squadron. The climax of the chapter saw Jack and his team breaching the control room, confronting the Kavar commander face to face. Words were unnecessary as both sides understood the stakes. With a swift, decisive move, Jack disarmed the Kavar commander, securing control over their systems. It's over, stand down, he declared, his team securing the remaining Kavar officers. As the news of the victory spread, cheers erupted across human ships. Marcus and Robert shared a look of relief and pride, knowing the bravery and sacrifices of many had led to this moment. The chapter closed with the human fleet victorious but aware of the cost. The Kavar homeworld, now subdued, marked the end of their dominion and the beginning of a new era for humanity. In the aftermath of their monumental victory, the world leaders and military commanders gathered at the United Nations headquarters to debrief and discuss the future. The main hall, usually a place of debate and diplomacy, was now a scene of quiet reflection on the war's toll and the cost of peace. Jack Harper stood at the podium, facing the assembly with a solemn demeanor. Beside him, General Robert Lew and Admiral Marcus Bennett awaited their turns to speak, each carrying the weight of the recent conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, Jack began, his voice echoing slightly in the vast hall. We stand here today, united not just by a common enemy, but by the sacrifices that brought us to this moment. Our victory was not just for Earth, but for the future of humanity. A murmur of agreement passed through the room as Jack continued. We must now focus on rebuilding not just our cities, but our relations with each other and with the universe at large. We have seen what we can achieve when united, and we must not forget this lesson. Robert stepped up next, his tone pragmatic, as he addressed the logistical challenges ahead. The rebuilding process will require significant resources and cooperation. We need to establish a new global defense protocol and ensure that our planet is never again caught off guard. Marcus then took the stage, his presence commanding as always. We also owe it to those who sacrificed to make this victory possible to maintain vigilance. Our fleets must be maintained, our technology advanced, and our people trained. The leaders discussed plans for a new global coalition, focusing on peacekeeping and scientific advancement, rather than conflict. As the meeting drew to a close, Jack proposed an international memorial for the fallen, a suggestion met with unanimous approval. After the assembly, Jack, Robert, and Marcus walked through the now quiet halls, each lost in thought. They paused at a window overlooking the city, its skyline a mix of damaged buildings and new constructions. "Never thought I'd see the day when our biggest worry was rebuilding," Marcus remarked, his tone light but reflective. Robert nodded, looking out at the workers below. "It's a good worry to have, all things considered. Better than planning the next battle." Jack agreed, though his gaze was distant, perhaps seeing not just the city, but the faces of those lost. "We've got a lot of work ahead of us, but first, we need to honor those who can't be here to see this." The scene shifted to a few days later, at the unveiling of the new memorial. A large crowd had gathered, including families of the fallen, military personnel, and dignitaries from around the world. Jack was again at the podium, this time to dedicate the monument. "This memorial is a tribute to the brave souls who gave everything to protect our home," Jack spoke, his voice steady but thick with emotion. "Let it also be a reminder of the peace they fought for, a peace we must continue to uphold." As the cloth covering the monument was pulled away, revealing a stunning sculpture of intertwined celestial bodies representing unity and sacrifice, the crowd fell silent, then gradually began to applaud, a sound that carried hope and resolve. The chapter and the story concluded with Jack, Robert, and Marcus standing together, looking at the monument. They knew the road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, but for now, they shared a moment of peace, a brief respite in their continued duty to safeguard humanity's future.